Welcome, Jules.
Thank
It's
you.
exciting to have you here, and I get to
Okay.
show you how to use your camera in manual mode. So,
Really? You're
Just
going to
to-
make me dump the automatic?
yeah, no more auto.
Okay.
Yeah, so just to set some context for you around why we're here and what I'm going to do for you today, I photograph journeys in people's personal and professional lives, and I also teach amateur photographers how to capture their life in beautiful photos.
Okay.
So my mission for you is to, with simplicity, get the most out of this device, capturing your life the way you want to in manual mode, which is where I think you have the best control over what you're doing. So Jules, tell me what it is you're doing with your photography at the moment. So why are we here? Why have you got this camera? What are you trying to do with it? Why did you buy it? Why do we need to teach you how to use it?
Okay. I'm really passionate about photography, but I've never learnt how to do it. And then I had my kids, and I realised that there were so many moments that I just wanted to capture, but I didn't. But I wanted to be more than just a sort of like an aim and shoot sort of person. Like I wanted to take the photography to the next level, and have the confidence just to be able to just grab them in those moments when you're rattling off and you've got 10 photos and then you just get this one absolutely beautiful picture.
Yeah.
And so I bought the camera partially because I wanted to be lazy and I knew the camera could do a lot of it itself. But I guess now that I've done that and I've got some amazing pictures, I kind of want to take it to the next level, if that makes sense. So I want to learn how to do it so I can get even better photographs and not just rely on it just doing it all for me, all the hard work.
Yep. So give yourself a year to get across it. So you've spent the coin on the actual device and now it's time to actually just give it some time to get to learn it. So we've got the camera guide and you've had a little read through that, and what we're going to do now is actually bring to life what's in there. So that's the bedrock for what we're going to learn today.
Okay, so when you talk about that year, are you saying that I should be doing it every week or once a month, getting the camera out? What do you think is the ideal scenario for me going forward if I need to get to know my camera?
Yeah, so it's a bit like if you're learning to drive a manual car.
Okay.
So you know how there's a period where you learn for a while and then you get practicing with it and then you get better at it, and it still takes a while, and there's a period of learning, and it maybe takes up to a year to get really confidently across driving a car.
Yeah.
So it's not really any different to that.
Okay.
So
Cool.
the more time you can put to it, the better,
Okay.
obviously.
Cool.
It can be sooner than a year, of course it can be, but it's just to give you that context that it might just not have to happen overnight, which is what I'm noticing in the amateur photographer space, is people want it all to happen straight away, and you just need to give yourself a little bit of patience about that it won't necessarily happen tomorrow,
Yeah.
but with practice it will start to make sense.
To
Yeah,
use the camera
Yeah.
as opposed to having to think about using the camera, if
That's
that makes
right.
sense.
yeah.
Because, okay, good. Yep, good.
Okay, so what I want to see you do going forward from today is set your camera to M for manual and leave it there.
Okay.
So don't take that temptation to
Shall
go
I do
back.
it now?
Yeah, flick it on, turn it on. So you've got your Canon and I've got my Nikon here.
Okay. It's on manual.
So
Can
we're
I
on
just say that
M.
I'm nervous putting on manual?
Yeah, totally.
So, yeah, it's flicked it over to manual.
We could probably
Turn it
take the
on.
lens cap off.
Oh,
That could
okay.
come off too. You've got your Canon.
So, that's video.
All right. So the M is up on the top left, typically on Canon. Canon's yours
So-
is on the right there. Yep. So it's
Oh,
that
so
M.
you do it in both places, there and up there as well.
Okay, so this M is controlling the body, and then that M or A there is about the focusing, so autofocus and then manual focus. So that's where if you want autofocus, you half press the shutter and it sees what you're focusing to.
Right, okay.
Whereas if you put it to MF and flick the switch for that, then it means you would manually focus the lens.
Okay, so when you're talking, are we doing autofocus for today's
Yeah,
lesson?
today we can leave it on auto. It doesn't matter. That's
Okay.
not so much of a priority.
Okay, all right,
So
cool.
the main thing is this M for manual here.
Yeah,
That's the bit that you want to keep on and stay on.
right.
So the anatomy of the camera is you've got your lens here and then the body here and then this lumpy bit at the top. So when you think back to the like 1800s and they had the plate cameras and the dudes were out there with their black capes over the camera in the field and they had the camera up on a tripod, the light was coming through the lens at the front and then being projected straight up onto the back screen, upside down and back to front.
Yep.
And what happens is the light goes through the lens here and then there's a mirror, a sloped mirror. When you take the lens off, you'll see that sloped mirror. I might take it off the Canon to show you. So you press that button on the side there and rotate the barrel, take the lens off. You see that mirror there?
Yep.
So the light comes through there and then it reflects the image up through a couple more mirrors up here and then out through the viewfinder up there for you to see it right way up and flipped the right way. So this makes it much easier for you to photograph with. So that explains why actually the viewfinder is up here and you look in there, but actually the lens is down here, in case you were wondering about that. So you just look for the red dot to put it back together. Maybe it's that white one. Let's figure it out. There you go. So to hold the camera, you'll find that most people are right-handed and so the cameras are built for right-handed use. So you take your left hand and hold the camera underneath with your left palm and you let your fingers cradle the lens.
Okay.
And then you have your right hand there with the fingers just perfect for reaching the key buttons that you need.
Yep.
And then you'll find that's comfortable in terms of stance. So you keep your wings in when you're standing to take photos so you don't destabilise, just keep your wings in and it's comfortable. So then you can just switch from vertical to horizontal. So what we're going to do today is go through what's in the camera guide here.
Okay.
And what I was thinking a lot about this, like what is it that I do on my camera repeatedly every time I shoot before I take photos, which means what do I do to the camera to set it up to be ready to take photos? So when people look at a photo like that, they don't realise that there's a bunch of steps going on beforehand in order to then compose and take the photo. So what I call this little process is the 7-step shoot flow.
Okay.
It's not anything anybody else calls it. It's just my way of breaking it, this little part of the process down. So the 7-step shoot flow is over here on this part of the guide with the boy on this page. So these 7 steps are what we're going to go through and actually cover off today in the workshop. And my wish for you is that in time, this process is like moving through the gears in your car when you're driving. It's actually automatic.
Okay.
Today, it's going to be clunky and slow and bunny hopping and stalling, and that's completely expected and normal because you're just trying to get across it all, and it's quite a few things that all go together to make sense of it.
Okay.
So be patient with yourself. People get a little bit like panicky, and it's like that is the moment to just take a minute and go back to the step flow, because as soon as you try and kind of go off this, that's when it starts to unravel.
Right, okay.
So when you notice yourself getting a little bit panicky, just come back to the 7-step shoot flow.
Okay.
Okay, so I think we're ready to start. So what we're going to do is go through the 3 main independent functions in manual shooting. So we're going to look at ISO and then shutter speed and then aperture independently of each other, because that's what we can do now that we're shooting in manual. And then we're going to take a look at how we bring them together using the metering scale. And then we're going to look at a test shot and double check, is that the best exposure it can be using our histogram?
Right.
Yeah, so that ultimately, as you go forward, you say, no, I only want the best exposures in camera to go home with, to put onto the computer. I don't want to be taking home exposures that I need to fix in Photoshop later.
Okay.
So we want to just get the best as we can in camera, and then the post-production stuff that you can do and might want to do will happen later, and that's only what you can do on the computer. So there's no picking up mistakes from here when you get home on the computer.
Okay. All right.
All right, so are there any questions about where we're going to go from here?
No, I think I'm clear. So we start off with ISO which means...
Okay.
So let's start from the beginning.
All right, so let's start with ISO.